Are you ready to build your network at lightning speed? Well, mark your calendar for April 16th through the 18th and join us at Connect. You'll experience 3 days of growing, networking, and breaking through your limitations. Look, you'll never be the same. So go to attend-connect.com to learn more.
I think 10 years ago, after coming out of this thing with my dad, I probably was a little over the top of just what I'd gone through. And I said, wow, there really is no success in business without family.
I'm your host, Chaz Wilson. I bring you successful entrepreneurs, add valuable wisdom to your journey, and help you succeed. Welcome to Connect, Share, and Prosper.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Connect, Share, Prosper. I think this is episode 101. Last week we did episode 100 with my wife as the special guest last week. Really fun episode, but today we're just as thrilled and excited for this episode 101, with my special guest, Jim Sheils. Let me introduce you to him if you've not seen him before. He was on an episode a couple months ago, and we were so excited, and the feedback was tremendous, so we decided to have him back again. But Jim Sheils, motivated by what he saw as one of the most tragic challenges of modern life, the disconnection of busy entrepreneurs from their families, Jim developed a family board meeting process to help business owners bridge the gaps between themselves and their loved ones. Since then, both Jim's message and his book, the Amazon bestseller, quote, "The Family Board Meeting" was the name of the book. They've spread around the globe and often called crazy glue for families. Jim's popular and simple frameworks now reach thousands of parents worldwide, helping them feel more connected with their kids, be happier at home, and leave a lasting legacy. Jim is the founder of 18 Summers, which specializes in live events, workshops, and private consulting for organizations looking to strengthen their family lives while still succeeding in business. He's an in-demand public speaker who will be speaking at our event Connect in a couple of weeks, and owns a private real estate company that has done more than $200 million in transactions. Jim's an avid surfer and enjoys traveling with family and friends, especially his beautiful wife, Jamie, and their 4 children. His greatest adventure to date is, I have here, donating a kidney to the best guy on the planet, his father. Cool, man. Welcome to the show, Jim Sheils. Yeah, good to be with you. So interesting, right? I'd love to know just what's the quick overview of donating your kidney to your father?
Yeah, and that's something I'll probably be talking about and sharing. It was an unexpected event, and my dad got sick about a decade ago out of nowhere. He's a stubborn little Irishman, and he didn't take his antibiotics and actually got this infection in his kidneys that showed up 40 years later and almost gave him renal failure. Of course, he denied the kidney when the doctor said, look, you got 2 years to live or you need a donor. And I was in the hospital. I said, oh, too late. I heard it. I'm doing it. And it took us on a pretty interesting journey, which no doubt that event, when I was going through that with my family and my father, helped bring me to the work I do today with 18 Summers, because it was not something I wasn't prepared to necessarily do or thought I'd ever do. Yeah. But it took me to such a point of critical, Chad, that it really helped create some of the principles and the curiosity and commitment I have today towards family. You know, a decade later, it was a profound experience for sure.
We'll definitely get to the family stuff. I want to just, hey, everybody, welcome to the episode. We got a lot of people hopping on right now. So I just, before we went live, you mentioned you got a bunch of speaking events coming up, and you've had just a couple of them or one cancel recently on it. What are you seeing as a public speaker right now with events? Like, we're getting people emailing, are we still doing Connect?
Like, yeah, it's been really, yeah, exactly. Which I'm glad to hear, because there's 2 sides right now, Chaz, where there's just turn your head, hey, there's nothing going on. Someone sneezed once, it's nothing to worry about. And then there's people saying, you know, get into the bomb shelter, the world's over. And I lay somewhere in the middle. And most of the people are saying, look, wash your hands, make sure that you're healthy. If you're, you know, older, like right now, my dad, who I love, he's now 85 years old. I probably wouldn't have him go with me on this trip. Right. But for me, I've just said, like, and we've had family talks about this. My kids go, we learn this at school. I've said, look, we want to be prepared. We also want to live our life. So for me personally, Chaz, what I've decided to do is I still will be going. I had one event in New York canceled because the actual building is shutting down, the building where they were hosting it. So they didn't even want to not host it. It was the building itself, which is interesting. So I believe you always want to be prepared, you know, with certain things, but to shut down, I don't feel that's right. And unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of people not being able to do it. In fact, maybe by luck, but originally, I don't know if I ever told you this, I was supposed to be doing a tour in Asia that I turned down. And then
We may have lost Jim. Jim, are you there? Hey, Jim, welcome back. We need to make sure we get his camera. There you are. Sorry, somehow we lost you on the internet. So I was just kind of filling in the gap about what you were talking about. People go into panic. And this weekend, my wife was at the store, and people are making a run on water and toilet paper and all that stuff. But like, how do you draw the line between this? Like, yes, it's a serious thing, but this panic thing that people are kind of going into.
I think you have to look at the statistics. Again, that's where I've learned, where I've had my most success in my real estate investing and my least success is when I listen to the stats instead of the media. So listen to the stats, not the media. The media's job, as you know, Chaz, a lot of the time is to get us to glue ourselves to them. And bad news triggers a lot more. So like, for example, in 2005, the real estate media was saying double-digit appreciation, no end in sight, get in now, you'll never get into real estate. That was 2005. I have articles that I showed this on. 2008, those same media outlets were saying real estate's dead, it's never coming back, you're absolutely screwed, it's over. And I always remember that, because that might be, oh, well, that's the real estate markets. Yeah, but it could be the health markets, it could be these markets. And what I found is, their job is to sensationalize and get me glued. I need to look at statistics. And I actually explained this to my kids. I said, look, we have to look at things. I had the flu once about 3 years ago, and it was, I guess, the lesser of it. I was down for most of the week. And, but I looked at it and I said, let's look at the statistics of who's sick, what actually is, and not like the stories of where we are. And that was a good lesson for me to discuss with my children, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think some of the lessons in this is that, it's interesting. It's to me, and again, I'm not minimizing the potential issue that's there, but what I'm looking at is the panic on some people that's come from this potential issue is having more of an impact in some ways than the issue itself. Yeah. And we've got to be careful that the panic that happens and the ripple effect it has on the economy. And I just said a couple of weeks ago to people, I feel like we're in the season of fall in business and winter's coming. Who knows what causes that? This could be what, again, it's not the health concern that causes, the panic that causes the ripple effect to people. And that's why we're still coming together with Connect, and we're going to bring people together and say, look, this is what we need to do. This is how you prepare. And it's just a good lesson, don't you think, for people? Like, this may turn out to be a fairly big thing. It may turn out not to be, but it's a good lesson in preparation as a business owner and as families.
I do. I think that Warren Buffett talks about being the contrarian investor. And I think that now more than ever, if again, we look at certain statistics, we're not saying we're going into a war zone or things and you're having certain health precautions. I think this makes all the sense in the world. And two things are going to happen. First of all, this one of Master Connect is going to be more remembered than ever, because we're going to say, do you remember a lot of people weren't even traveling, weren't doing this? And I think it's going to show not only a group unity for you guys, and I could be speaking out of turn, but that's what I believe, but it's also going to show the strength of your local powerhouses, because the local markets, everyone's talking about the global markets. I think this is when groups like yours band together in their local community, they are going to ignite right now, because the local business has an opportunity, because more people are going to be staying home. So you can come together at Master and network with everyone. But I think as what you guys do, you propel each other's businesses up. This is like, oh my gosh, there's wind at your back. People, this is an exciting time. I was just talking to a local real estate developer that I work with here. Like, we're seeing phenomenal things from this. And it's because of that local level, if that makes sense, Chaz.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, when these things happen, anything, no matter what it is, it's always the local communities that come together and build. And those that sort of build in isolation, if you will, and there's some benefit to that if people are sick, but those that build in isolation struggle. And it's why you got to get out and network and be together. In fact, we got several people from around the country. I see people who are here from Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Florida. We got people all over listening right now. So guys, we're here with Jim Sheils. If you have a question for him, he will be one of our keynote speakers at Connect. You will be sort of, you're in this really amazing spot at Connect, and this was on purpose and intentional because your message is so powerful. We have you kind of rounding out the end of Connect because I think that everyone will hear all the stuff that we lead up to. The first day is about the mindset, the thinking and building. The second day is about the lead generation and converting to sales. Now, then you kind of say, okay, now that you have that, what do you do with that to make an impact and leave a legacy? And you've just become a master and an expert in that. And how do you see people doing that? What are some of the things they need to be thinking about as they come to Connect when it has to do with what you're going to talk about?
I think that we all look for more strength in our businesses, more, not necessarily motivation, but more determination, more results. And I always say, why? Because I want the business. Okay, why again? And I even say, okay, let's not even say why now. Why did you first go into this? Why did you start that business 10 years ago when you could have just stayed in the cush position that you were in? Why did you do it? And most of us, we had an idea of a different type of freedom. And a big one that I've heard, Chaz, is when I have a kids event at 11 o'clock on a Wednesday, I'm going to be there. When I want to take a vacation, I'm not going to worry about where I'm going to be, how much I have to pay for lunch. I'm just going to do it. There's these things that we want to feel like my kids are not going to have to, bow down to a boss that's really mean to them. I don't want them to do that. I'm not going to do the push-ups for them, but if I can do my own business, then I'm going to be able to set that example for them. And that's so important. And what I've come to, Chaz, and again, I think 10 years ago, after coming out of this thing with my dad, I probably was a little over the top of just what I'd gone through. And I said, wow, there really is no success in business without family. And now I said that originally, I didn't really believe it. But now the more people I've worked with, from anywhere from, just starting a business to close to a billionaire, there really is no success in business without family. And it's a very clear finding that really you can't poke a hole in it at this point.
So was the experience with your dad the catalyst to starting what you did? And then that's your why? You talk about why did you start it? Was that really what it was, or was that just the beginning of something more?
It was a point of critical in so many things, and I'll talk about this at the meeting. I was running a real estate investment company that was doing really well, but it had gone near bankruptcy in 2008. And so I'm building this thing back. I'm in the process of, at that time, trying to grow our family from 2 to 4 kids, Chaz. As you know, I have 2 adopted sons and then now 2 biological kids. I feel very lucky that I've been on both sides, but at that time when I was going through this 10 years ago, we were going through miscarriages. I know if people have gone through that. It's really hard on both you and your wife, the family. You feel like giving up. And it was a very deep time. And then at the same time, I get the results from the Mayo Clinic. Hey, we're ready to allow you to donate a kidney to your dad. So I'm trying to run this big business. I've adopted 2 sons who I'm attempting to get close to while I'm running a big business. And now all of a sudden, my father, who we weren't enemies, but we weren't close growing up. It wasn't a close relationship, got put onto me. And now I have to, at this point, convince him to actually take the kidney from me, because being a stand-up guy, he's like, no, I'm not doing that. You have a family, you have a business. It's my time. And none of us wanted it to be his time. So these things just hit at once, Chaz. And it was that point of critical. And literally I'm sitting at my desk and someone forwarded me this article, which I don't want to really give the cat out of the bag, but it was about Steve Jobs. And it was very interesting to hear, this is right around just that Steve Jobs had passed away, some of his biggest regrets that he was given last interviews in. And I read about it, it gave me chills right up and down my spine, where I was saying, what's going to really matter a decade from now, if I have another decade? Because no one is guaranteed another decade. And that's when actually, and I started to share this with my mentor, and he said, yeah, if you're lucky, you realize you have 18 summers with your family. And you can look up the statistics. The average person, Chaz, will spend all the time they ever have. They'll spend 85% of that by the end of their child's 18th summer. I mean, that is shocking. So what does that mean for people in Master Connect, or any of us business owners or entrepreneurs? 2 things. If your kids are over the age of 18, man, these principles that I'm going to share with that actually reground you and bring family back into a priority position are even more important, because you have statistically less time to even do it. But what I do believe is this too, that's the average person. I believe when you put the principles that I've been doing now for 10 years and sharing with thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs now with proven results, if you put these to work, maybe you don't have 15%. That's for the average. It could be 20, 25, maybe 30% more for those people who have kids over the age of 18. I'm sure there's people in your group, or there's people more like you and I who have a range going from little to teens. What that tells me, Chaz, we have a golden opportunity right now that we won't always have. It's almost like for me, when I used to buy a lot of real estate, in 2009, the prices were not making sense. They had dropped so more. It was just a giant investment sale. Those weren't always going to be there. And I say that to parents now. We used to get taught, you're going to build this business. Maybe you're going to step away from your family for 10 years. They'll understand, then get back to them. That's terrible advice. Yes. There has to be an integration today, Chaz, of things that you can be doing now to not only be growing the business, but your family comes with you. No one should leave their family behind, and we used to be taught that. It was almost a guilt, like you shouldn't be spending time with your family. You need to build the business for them. You need to provide and protect. And I believe in providing and protecting, but that's not all we're here for. The dad role has changed. You got to be a part of their lives, because if all you do is become a part-time disciplinarian or an ATM machine, you're missing out on some serious connection opportunities, and they're not going to grow up the best they could without a real role model in their life, if that makes sense.
Well, it makes complete sense, which is why you and I think, get along so well. You're 4 and I have 5. I'm with you 100%. I don't think you could do life, like have 2 separate lives. People ask me that all the time. How do you balance it? I'm like, I don't really balance it. It's life. It's the way I do it. It's how I, bring my kids along with a lot of stuff. I mean, one of my favorite quotes always is that, your business success will never compensate for failing at your home.
Yeah.
And so it just won't. It doesn't matter how much applause, how many book sales, how many speaking events, it just doesn't matter if I'm failing there. And so, I do my best to do that with it. So I agree 100%. And I think that's why our event, we've involved Kids Connect as part of it. So we've got people bringing kids. I think, what was the last number, Ricardo? You remember you say 29, 31, somewhere around there. Kids that are coming to this event. We have a little over 10% of the attendees will be kids between 10 and 18. So the impact is already moving in that direction. So I see that. So if I'm listening to you today and I'm like, gosh, maybe I'm feeling maybe that guilt, what's something I could do right away that I could kind of swing that pendulum back the other way? What's are there tactical things I could start doing to just sort of get that balance back the other way with family while still trying to maintain business?
Sure. And a couple of things before you do anything. It's just getting some mindset straight. First off, you do not have to have a PhD in family therapy to be a good to be a good family man or woman. And that's kind of the pressure that's been put on us, because a lot of the information out there is too long-winded, too philosophical, too confusing. There's not like clear principles and action steps. So don't feel like, oh gosh, I'll never figure it out. A lot of things have become like that in anything, even business, as you talk about. How do we simplify to have the best results in our business? There is stuff out there for family as well. You don't need a PhD in family therapy to become a good family man. You don't need a teaching certificate to be able to share lessons with your kids. We put this pressure on us. And probably one of the most things, and this is something I absolutely promise, like I guarantee, the solutions are not as complicated as we've made this problem. Like where business has become overrun, tech is overrun, we're busier than ever, we're separated from home, we're not really talking, we're feeling like, it's just completely scattered without any, solid grounding. The solutions are so much easier than we've actually made the problem. And just keep that in mind. You don't need a PhD, and the solutions are there, and they're a lot more simple than you like them. And so that's why I think, like you and I came in, where there's tons of really smart people out there doing it. But my job was, how can I simplify it and make it so much easier where we actually get the results we want without a bunch of complications? So know that mindset. We can go into one or two things pretty easily.
Well, you and I talked about that a couple months back, and when we first started talking, and I think one of the things that you were the catalyst for me in this, of that mindset going, okay, it was about the same time, looking at the new year, coming up and all that kind of stuff. And I realized, I said, okay, what's a goal that I could create? So just one thing I could do different this year to just take advantage of that time with them. And so I with 5 kids, I just rotated a schedule of every Saturday having lunch with one of them, taking time with each one of them. And now it's always like, whose week is it, Dad? Who, they're like, hey, when my week comes up, can we go do this? And realizing how, it might only be an hour and a half, with them from the time standpoint. And it's not the whole Saturday with them individually, but how much they value that hour and a half of time. And sometimes there's a lot of conversation and sometimes there's not. It doesn't, it's up to them. I let them really lead that.
Yeah, and that's okay, because sometimes just being there, you've said 1,000 more words than you could by actually saying something, if that makes sense. Now that you've been doing it a few months and you have a big family like mine, even bigger than mine, do you now see, and again, people, you said, how do they get started? The one-to-one principle is, again, the most simple, effective, meaningful, yet overlooked. And no one talks about it. It really is the Rosetta Stone of family relationships, and no one talks about it. You've seen it now by separating the parts to strengthen the whole, right?
Correct.
I honestly joke now, like, I believe, like, we all watch the Brady Bunch, that, Jan Brady would have never existed if Mike Brady and Carol Brady had done one-on-one time. Marsha, she would have gotten her individual time. And I don't, not to be Captain Obvious here, but we all know, no matter what, the way we raise our kids, they're all different. There's no one size fits all. Each kid is completely different. And one-on-one time takes away sibling rivalry, distraction, if they lean more towards your spouse. I joke that every family also has that one kid that's ready to grab the mic and run to the podium, right? And I love that kid. I was that kid. But sometimes they can take center stage. Like, you go home, Chaz, and say, you sit down for a family dinner and you say, hey, how was your day? And there's that one kid that goes, I'll take this one. I'll take this one. And they try to steal the stage.
Yes.
And that's great. There's the kid with that kind of pizzazz. But what about the other kids? They need their own focused attention. They need their own time. Your spouse needs their own time. I don't need to tell you, Chaz, when I have 4 kids, you have 6 kids, the marriage is really important.
I have 5. I haven't got to 6 yet.
Oh, why did I say 6? I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
my wife might be watching this, so let's not panic.
I'm sorry. I just adopted you a child. So
yes, right.
So anyway, 4 to 5. But you see the power now for a few months.
Yes.
Just having that awareness now, that kind of beacon of light saying, spend one-on-one time. Separate the parts to strengthen the whole. That's not going to segregate the family. It's going to bring them closer together. So if people will just start to realize and see and practice the one-to-one principle, spending focused one-on-one time together, the family life just gets better and stronger.
It's a good principle in business too, whether it be employees, partners, vendors, whatever. Spending that individual time with them to strengthen all of the relationships you have in business is a really important key to do. We've got several comments. Guys, we're here with Jim Sheils on this episode of Connect, Share, Prosper. Loving what it is. Just let me take a second here to remind everyone about Connect. We are now 90% sold out of Connect. There's only a few tickets left and a little bit of time to get them before prices go up this weekend to full price. Again, make sure you get registered for Connect. We have a ton of surprises coming. You can go to attend-connect.com. I think as of this morning, we only have 14 nights, not rooms, but 14 nights left at the hotel. If you don't have your hotel and you don't go get it, you will not have the ability to stay at that hotel. So make sure you take care of that. Lene says, separating the parts to strengthen the whole. Love this principle. So yes, I mean, I think that's just what we were just talking about. It's a really amazing piece that you can do. And again, you can do it in business. You can do it in your family life. And I think there's this constant pull and push with business, and it's demanding, especially people who work for themselves, where they feel like they can't ever shut it off because a customer might call during that time. And I've always found if I set boundaries with my family and stuff, my customers will acknowledge those and respect those boundaries, but most people just never set them. Would you agree with that?
I do. I think there's some sort of fear that, again, that we've been taught. Building a business is tough and it is hard work and no one's going to do the push-ups for you, but you don't go to the gym 24 hours a day. You need time to rest and rejuvenate. And like you said, I think if you set boundaries, like I've told all of my podcast people, my clients, and that every Wednesday from 5:30 to 8:30 is date night with my wife. We used to have it Thursdays. We switched in the beginning of the year to Wednesdays because of kids' schedule, but I'm not available. And I don't really apologize for that, Chaz. In fact, what I've seen is I say it, not meanly, but I say it and people actually respect that. They say, wow, good for you that you have that, because you have to schedule that time and then protect that time. The same way, if one of the people out there, their largest client is wanting to meet with them, if their largest client, are they going to say, oh, I'll get to them when I can, or they're going to run over them? No, we hold our appointments sacred in business. We need to do the same thing at home.
I agree. And your priorities are the message. That's what you're sharing, because how you time block your calendar shows your priorities. Lene asked, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I think she's asking you specifically, Jim, how do you go about one-on-one time consistently with each kid?
Yeah, I'll talk about that at Master Connects, but I believe in setting a few rhythms in your life. So I have a set weekly rhythm with my wife, same day, same time. So it's that old same bat time, same bat channel. So I won't mess it up. Again, I'm ADD. I'm not great at details. I'm not allowed to hold paperwork for either one of my businesses because it'd be crumpled up in the back of my car, right? Yeah. So how can someone like me keep those relationships strong? Well, same day, same time, every week with my wife, same time with my whole family. In my business, same time with my CFO, same time with my sales team. I'm a boring old man at the deli ordering the same bowl of soup on certain things. Now I have plenty of time to vary it, but if I just set a few set times and days, it just has made all the difference.
But Jim, what do you say to those that then say, but then that's so regimented and routine that it takes the realness and spontaneity out of it? Is that accurate? Are you there? Did I lose you?
I 100%. No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I got you. Keep going.
Yeah, sorry. I disagree 100%. And I'll tell you why. I go on a date every week with my wife, same day, same time. We don't do the same thing. We don't go to the same restaurant. We don't go do the same activity. It's just a holding of the space. That's like saying we hold the first 2 weeks of July every year for a summer vacation. Say, oh, but doesn't that take away the risk? No, it's just holding the space, not what's done within the space. And that's what people think it's like cheating. Oh, you schedule time with your family? That sounds so, rehearsed and so forced. I totally disagree. That which we schedule gets done. I love my family. Time moves quick. If I schedule the space, if I hold the space, what I do within the space is different all the time. My date's different. My wife and I do an overnight every quarter. One night every quarter. We're away from the kids doing an overnight. Sometimes we'll go to different places every time. So it holds the space, but doesn't make it like boring and routine. As you know, it just doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. I think if it gets boring and routine, that's on you, not on the fact that you're scheduling it, right? And what you're doing is you're creating tradition. And I think tradition brings balance, not just for you, but for those around you, because they know what the agreement is. They know what the expectations are. They know what to plan on and rely on. I think not scheduling it creates sort of an imbalance in your relationships and so forth. So really good stuff, guys. We're here with Jim Sheils today. He's just, hitting the truth all the time. Really taking that space between business and family and how do you work those together? Because I think so many of us as entrepreneurs just struggle with that. And that's why we invited you to be at Connect, because we just think that that's going to be just such an important topic for us, because our mission is to build legacy beyond business. And so I think you're going to help us man that out. So in this kind of crazy time, we're going to kind of wrap with this. In this kind of crazy time that we live in with a lot of uncertainty in the business world right now and those that are potentially coming up. Someone just commented, what we schedule becomes consistent. I agree with that completely. With all this kind of craziness in here, what do you see on the horizon that as entrepreneurs we should be thinking about, preparing for, being mindful of, that maybe, as you looked at what happened in 2008, here you were 2005, then it jumped to 2008. If you could have told yourself in 2005, here's what's coming, what would you tell yourself today if you knew potentially what was coming? What should we be thinking about as entrepreneurs?
I think as entrepreneurs, we should be minding our own business. That's one of the best pieces of advice that I can give, because even within Master Connect, you guys have a community of support, but each one of your businesses is different. And sometimes here's what will happen. We'll look over at the other person's business or someone let's say a competitor of ours, or someone who's not even in our industry, and we'll just start focusing on their business. You need to focus on your own business, or I even say on social media. We start to focus on people that do these highlight clips that are just, they don't even seem realistic, or why? Focus on your own business. What's going on in your business with your own team, with your own market, with your own industry, and really go deep into that. Ask the questions. We start to focus on other people businesses, and it's that old thing, mind my own business, even, and I integrate that on family life, Chaz. Oh, look at their family, what's their family doing? Oh, they went on this big vacation. Who cares? Right. Mind your own business. If you will go back to that simple principle, the best way to prepare for an 08 or another boom is to mind your own business. Because what if there's going to be some capitalization, like all of a sudden global markets have problems, but local markets, like the teams within your things, get ignited? Well, you want to be ready to capitalize them. The only way you're going to capitalize them is to mind your own business, both in your business and at home. That's what I found. So minding your own business is really important. And then if you really want to be involved with your family, that legacy that happens starts today, not 50 years from now when we're not here, then get involved. Don't delegate yourself out of family life. I think we talked about that. One of the worst things I've seen for entrepreneurs is the art of delegation is absolutely key in business. It can destroy you in your family life because you get so good at it. You delegate yourself out of family life and then you feel disconnected, lonely, bitter, a little guilty. That's not going to help. So stay involved. It's such a gift. And I love the fact you have, 40 kids coming. Our kids, we need to give them credit now. They will grasp the lessons that we share at things like this, and they're going to see the value, and it will inspire them and it'll get them excited to learn. So whether it's coming to Master Connect or even sharing one of the books you're reading at home that, helps with your business or your personal development or your financial intelligence, share that with your children. Start to have the conversations, because why would you want to start to have the conversations when they're 25 years old and completely lost? Start them at 10 and 11. So that by the time they leave the house, they have a foundation of things that took old guys like you and I to learn, down the road. Let's give them that advantage,
So true. I think, it was pretty cool. Last night we were having dinner together, which is something we really work on doing. And, instead of all the parts moving to different directions, we try to sit down and do that together. And so one of the things that we were talking about last night is who they're listening to, who are they watching, who are they talking about? And it was cool because they started talking. It was totally their led discussion, and they started talking about this podcast and the number of different people they've seen on this podcast. And like, it's so cool. Even if no one else out there was watching this, if my kids were watching the people I'm bringing on this podcast, what a powerful message. And I think
absolutely.
I think what you're saying too about minding your own business is when you really start to, there's this. I remember this image of Michael Phelps, swimming, and he's got that competitor next to him. You remember that? And the guy's like looking over at him, and it's that whole thing. It's like, if you take your eyes off where you're going, there's this, one of my favorite, scriptures in the New Testament is, any man who's taken his eye off and off of, the direction is, and off the plow is not fit for the kingdom. Because if you can't, if you take, you got to look ahead to push, right? But if you're looking to the side, you're going to get off track. And so often we do that. When it comes to social media, I see that one of the greatest advices I recently heard is be a producer of social media, not a consumer of social media. And that's always something that's running in my head with this.
So true. And that's beautiful. And you know what, Chaz, I'm gonna point on to something that you just hit on that people won't even see. But obviously you're sitting at the table, you're having these discussions, which is half the battle. But there's an interesting complacency that's happened in today's society. I got this working with a group in New Jersey recently. The average dinner time 60 years ago was about 90 minutes.
Wow.
Do you want to know what the average dinner time today is?
If I were to guess, I would say 7 minutes.
You are a little low, 12 minutes.
Wow.
12
I figured with fast food and how fast people eat and on the go, I was like,
hey, and
that's
you're probably
crazy.
More realistic because more people probably upped it a little bit, you know what I mean? But it just shows we're in such a rush to get back to our phones, to do this, to not sit where discussion has left. Family masterminding used to be, it wasn't called family masterminding, but it was there, has kind of gone away. So it's that, just again, remember we talked about holding space. I don't get bored with dinner with my family ever. There's always a new adventure. Someone's always saying something funny or new. We're just holding that space. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about. I'm going to help you be able to hold the space a little better. And then with the simple principles I'm going to teach, make the most of that space you're holding. If that makes sense. I love it. You got to hold the space and then make the most of the space. That's our whole system, and that's what we're going to share.
Guys, when you think about those of you who are watching that are coming to Connect, I want you to think about something for a second. How many, and this is going to sound self sort of promotion. It's not. It's just, but how many business conferences do you ever go to where they bring speakers like this who have messages that are just beyond the simple business principles? It's how do you bring it all together, because you're a whole person living this amazing life and your business is part of it. Your family's, the main driver. So it's going to be an amazing time at Connect. We're super excited you're going to be there. I couldn't be more thrilled that you're kind of wrapping up the event. This is why I've been saying, gosh, what, Ricardo, for like 6 weeks solid, I've been saying, do not fly out early on Saturday for many reasons, this being one, but we have some amazing surprises on Saturday. But Jim's one of those reasons to definitely make sure you stay through the entirety of the event, because he's going to just bring a powerful message to it. So, my friend, I'm excited to see you there. It's coming up soon, and we're excited to have you.
We're almost there. Can't wait, Chaz. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to meeting a lot of the Master Connect. So that'll be great. Yeah.
Awesome. Really appreciate it. Guys, again, remember, every Monday, noon Central, I bring amazing people like Jim to the episodes of Connect, Share, Prosper. This is episode 101. We're on our way to looking at 200 episodes, another 100 episodes coming up. Remember, every Monday, join me here on the Master Network's Facebook page so we can share amazing people like Jim each week. Their ups, downs, highs, lows, all the experiences and wisdom. So join us next week. Make sure you share this episode, tag those that needed to hear this message, and we will see you next Monday on the next episode of Connect, Share, Prosper.
Are you ready to build your network at lightning speed? Well, mark your calendar for April 16th through the 18th and join us at Connect. You'll experience 3 days of growing, networking, and breaking through your limitations. Look, you'll never be the same. So go to attend-connect.com to learn more.